what you want, what you want.
Welcome back to another tutorial at unhingedprops.com. Today's tutorial, we're going to make this cool looking spell book. This could be a spell book, potion book, whatever you want to call it. Basically, I guess I would call this a step one building the armature. I mean, because really the armature is just pretty well finished product. The only step that will come after this one is details, which would be paint. And I think I'm going to put some lettering on the back here and something on the front. Haven't quite decided that yet, but once I get to that point, we'll film it and show you for the second step. Anyway, here's the first step in how to make a closed bound paper mache spell book. Hope you enjoy. To start this project out, we're going to need ourselves an empty Cheez-It box and a paper towel roll. First thing we're going to do is stuff some newspaper inside our empty Cheez-It box, and we're going to tape the top of this thing shut. Newspaper is just to add some stability to the box as we apply mache. Next thing we want to do here is take our paper towel roll, and basically we're just kind of measuring this out against the box. I put a mark here, made it about ½ inch past the box. Now we're simply just going to cut this paper towel roll down to that mark. So just flatten it out and cut straight across. After you cut the excess off, the next thing you want to do is just take and cut it straight down the middle so we can open this thing up. Now this paper towel roll, as you can see, is going to be the back or the spine of our book. Anyway, we're going to lay this out here, and you want to leave it where it's about 1/4 inch overhang on each side, where that paper towel roll is just about 1/4 inch past each side of the box. Now what you didn't see, because I had some filming issues, you can see now I took a little bit of this paper towel roll that I had left and cut it out and just made a little flap that I taped down there on the bottom side. That way we've got some material to put our strip mache on. Next thing we're going to do, as you see, as always, we're just going to lay strip mache all over this box. We're going to cover everything, top, bottom, and all the sides. Now the one thing I do recommend is when you go to lay your strip mache over the very ends, you want to use some smaller strips here. It makes it much easier to apply it. They fold over better and they don't leave near as many wrinkles. But in this step, just as easy, we're just going to layer paper mache, strip mache over our little armature here. And you want to layer it 3 or 4 layers, 5 layers, just so it's good and strong. Once we got this all covered up in mache, we're just going to stick it out in front of a fan overnight, let it dry so we can move on to the next step. So the next step in this process is we're going to basically make the cover of the book. So the first step, you want to make 2 pieces that are going to be the flat cover. And for this size box and what we had going on here, this measured out to about 5 3/4 inch by 9.5 inches. So anyway, as you see here, you're just going to cut a little rectangle like that for your cover, and you're going to cut 2 of those the exact same size. Now for the spine, we're going to need another piece, and it's just going to be the main cut we're going to look for here is making this thing 9.5 inches tall. So get yourself a good piece of cardboard, mark it out at 9.5 inches, and cut it off. The one thing to pay attention to when you lay your cardboard out is you want those lines in that cardboard running vertically. So you're 9.5 inches tall, you want those lines running vertically, because by doing that, that's going to allow us to bend and shape this cardboard so much easier. You're going to be able to roll it, and it's going to give way on those little lines and those breaks. That way it's a much smoother bend. If you do it the other way, it's much harder to get the cardboard to do what you want. So just make sure that those lines are running vertically. And then you're just going to work it over like I'm doing here. It loosens the cardboard up and makes it easier to bend. Now that we've got it loosened up, we're going to lay it over the spine of our book. So what we're looking for when this is going to go on is we want this part of the spine to have about 1/4 of an inch gap between it and the other part of the cover. Just like you see here. If you look at any other book, you've always got that small little space in the book where it folds open. And that's the illusion that we're going to create by doing this. So you want to lay that out. Get yourself where it looks like it's 1/4 of an inch. I drew a line here. This line really isn't necessary. But what I did here is I just eyeballed down on the bottom side of the book and put a mark on the cardboard as even as possible with the top side. So I had a good look, thought it looked good, just ran a line on it and cut this mark. By the time I was done with the size of this book, I believe that this little section of cardboard that we're using for the spine was about 5.5 inches long, if I remember correctly. Anyway, that's not that important. You're just going to eyeball it so it wraps around and it looks like each edge is even when you flip the book over from one side to the next. Alrighty, moving right along. Next thing we want to do is measure from the end of the book down towards the spine. This measurement is 5 1/4 of an inch. By going 5 1/4 of an inch, that's going to leave us about 1/4 of an inch overhang on the front side of the book. All books have that overhang, so we're trying to just replicate that. Make your line with a little hot glue. You're going to line up the back side of that cardboard and just glue it straight down to the book. Now let's get this spine put on here. So just run a good bead right down the center of the back of the book and take that piece of cardboard, center it up as good as you can and put it straight to it. Once you have that on there, then you're going to go to each side and run a little bead of glue down each edge and get each one of those edges glued down nice and snug. Just like that. There we go. This thing's really starting to look like a book now. Next step is applying strip mache. We're just going to take our mache paste, apply it straight to our book, and then add one strip of paper at a time. Make sure you cover all the cardboard all around each edge. Tuck it around the edge and push it in, and then just cover it up, just like you do here. Layer this 2 or 3 layers. It's not too bad. You don't have to make it extra strong because the cardboard's got quite a bit of strength as it is. Again, once this step is done, you're just going to stick this in front of a fan overnight, let it dry, and we'll move on to adding a little more detail to this thing. I wanted to give this book like an old leathery texture to it, and I decided that tissue paper would probably work out the best to get the texture I wanted. Now when I started this, I thought I'd use Mod Podge. It seemed like it'd be a great idea. However, I quickly abandoned this idea. The Mod Podge just dries too fast. It doesn't saturate through quite like how I like. And plus, it was just drying so quick, it was hard to work with. So I abandoned the Mod Podge and just went back to my paper mache paste. Don't know why I ever went any other direction. If you got something that works, stay with it. I guess live and learn, huh? Anyway, here we are. Mache paste right to the armature and just folding it over. The thing to remember
It doesn't take a lot of mache paste to do this, and this tissue paper is very delicate, so you got to be careful. It'll tear and fall apart on you pretty easy. So you just put a layer down, cut off the excess, fold that under. Of course, put your mache paste down and fold it under just like this, and let it set. Now, big thing here is, since this is such a light coverage, you set this out and it'll dry within 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and then we can flip the book and do the other side. Dry time is extremely quick on this. It's great. So you'll just do it one side, set it down, let it dry in about 15 minutes, and you're ready to come back to the next side. Now, as far as layers on this, I only layered this twice with the tissue paper. I don't believe you need any more than that. It gives a great effect. And if you just keep layering it up, you're just covering up some of the texture you did before. As well, on here, I wanted to go a little bit faster, so I took a heat gun and I dried that thing out in about 3 minutes. Then I went ahead and moved on to my last layer of tissue paper over the entire book. 2 layers, done, finished up and ready to go. It makes a great look. Before I started this next step here, I actually let the book set overnight and dry out. This next step, just real quick, clean up all your edges, a little sandpaper here and there, just to flatten some things out before we move on to clay. Now, the clay recipe I used for this was just the toilet paper clay recipe. I did not use the green insulation because the green insulation is a little bit rougher and chunkier, and I wanted this to be smoother because we're going to try to put in some pages on this, or carve in the illusion of pages. So first thing I did was just lay the clay out right where the paper was supposed to be, and this is about 1/4 of an inch thick. I did make sure that the clay was down below the line of the cover of the book itself. And by doing this, we can work all the way around the book with the clay wet. We don't have to wait for anything to dry. We just spread the clay on here and can flip it all the way around, because as we set it down, it'll lay on the edge of the book and it won't touch any of the clay that we're working with. So first step, just as you see here, put the clay on, smash it out, smooth it out, and cover up all the area here that's supposed to be our paper. Now, to get the paper effect, I've just got this thin bladed tool, and I really think this is a painting tool, but it was very simple and it made a great look. All I did was take that on its edge and then basically just pressed in lines one after another, as close as I could get them to each other is what I did to represent paper. Just one line at a time, and work this book one section at a time. By the time this comes out, it's great. Now, don't worry, when you do this, you'll see that it'll pull the clay a little bit, and it'll, you'll have these spots that look rough and messed up. That's great. Leave it, because this is just an old bound witch's book, and these little imperfections that are in these lines, that are in this paper we're making, just makes it look so much more like it's old and aged and weathered. It's such a simple thing to do here. So just one little line at a time, just run it down the book and just kind of stamp into it, just as you can see here. we go. One great looking old spell book. Really enjoyed the way this turned out. I really like the texture of the pages. So far, this has been one fun project.
What you want?